It's a shocking day in the world of Magic the Gathering, as Wizards of the Coast has just said they're going to discontinue Russian, Korean, and Chinese Magic cards. And on top of that, another secret layer bonus card has appeared.
Magic.
I am a wizard!
History.
I'm an old wizard!
The Magic Historian.
My bones hurt. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered to talk about some absolutely crazy Magic the Gathering news. Now, before we do that, in case you missed my stream yesterday where I was talking about Alpha Investments banning his patrons, the thumbnail looks like this up on the screen and it's available over on my other channel, Hatcher. I'll leave a link at the end of the video for you if you want to go and check it out. Now, let us dive into talking about the news at hand. Wizards of the Coast has put out a statement that I'm going to read out for you here, saying, as we continually evaluate our product lineup for Magic the Gathering, we've made the decision to focus our major releases in 8 core languages. As such, starting with Dominaria United, we will no longer be publishing tabletop Magic in Russian, Korean, or Chinese traditional. So there still should be Chinese cards. It would be pretty surprising if Wizards discontinued that altogether, right? So it says, while we do not plan to publish tabletop Magic in these languages, we will continue to fully support Wizards Play Network stores with WPN events and promos, though promos and other products will be in English. Additionally, Magic the Gathering Arena will continue to support Korean and Russian. The core languages include English, Japanese, Simplified Chinese, French, Italian, German, Spanish, and Portuguese. While not all products are available in all languages, our premier sets and other ancillary releases will focus on these 8 languages. Now, if you're not aware, this is actually a huge departure from how things used to be. And I was genuinely stunned to see that they were discontinuing Korean and Russian. The Chinese simplified, I get, right? You keep the Chinese simplified, you get rid of the traditional because simplified is used by way more people and you're looking to serve the maximum number of customers. But if you guys don't know this from like way back in the day, Russian and Korean Magic specifically, at one point were the most elite Magic that you could get. Like at certain points, back in the day of the older core sets, like let's say Magic 2013, or maybe it was 2012, one of those two, right? There was only 3 boxes of the Korean core set available like in all of Canada. That's how insanely scarce this stuff was. And it was all like, this was kind of widespread across North America where both the Korean and Russian cards were massively sought after. At the beginning, Korean cards, that's a weird way to say it, were at like the top of the pinnacle here, right? Like everybody wanted them to the point where any playable card that you could get in Korean commanded a massive trade premium. You could get 3 times the trade value for these cards because they were scarce and people wanted to bling out their decks with them. So Korean used to be the top dog, but then after a while, the Russian cards started to move up in prominence instead, especially the black bordered 9th edition cards. And I have to say, man, Russian cards look really, really cool. There's something about the Russian language and the way its letters are and everything that is just, it stands out so much and is singularly unique, right? So basically the values of these things would fluctuate based on scarcity. So the harder it was to get the Russian stuff, the harder it was to get the Korean stuff, the more that people wanted it. So Wizards saw that there was this increased demand for this stuff. And what they did was, and this is a surprise, they actually made a bunch of it for everybody. It's kind of the opposite of what they do now, where when they figure out people want something, they go, how do we kind of tamp down the supply and make less of it available so we can get them to rush for it? But then they went, you know what? People are ordering like Korean and Russian boxes in our English markets, and there's a lot of hype around them, so why don't we sell into that? So they started to do it, and at first everything went great. People were like, woo, I can get all the Korean stuff that I want. You don't have to like race around trying to find it. Even local game stores in my area were able to get in a couple of boxes. But what happened was it basically destroyed the whole reason that people wanted those cards, the difficulty to acquire them. So what happens is over time, Korean and Russian cards start to become less desirable, and they have it's a more pronounced effect than the Japanese effect, right? Because when it comes to Magic cards, at least in this part of the world, the majority of people want English cards. And the time where you could get a premium for non-English cards seems to have passed. It was basically like Korean will get you the most, Russian will get you the next most, and then Japanese will get you a bit of a bump. And then it kind of shifted around a bit, and now it's reached to the point where none of them give you a bump. In fact, they pretty much all give you a decrease if you're dealing with English markets. But the Japanese market, I suppose, is big enough that you can try and sell some stuff into there. So it's not exactly the same, but it's genuinely astounding to watch something that used to be the top level premier thing that everybody was hustling to get, right? Remember, I used to be somebody whose job was getting cardboards into people's hands. So I had to constantly be aware of where you had to go. I would take like 2-hour-long bus trips to go to particular locations that I know would have like one box of that Korean stuff and get it home because the deals I could make with it were so good and I could get it at the same value as a regular box. Like it was sweet but difficult to acquire. So this is like the swan song and really makes me realize that after I saw this article, I went and flipped through one of my binders and I'm like, don't I still have 3 Japanese Caverns of Soul that I can't move at all? I remember when people were like, oh, please let me have these. And now they're sitting there going like, do you want these? Like, I'll even trade them a little bit below what they're worth for stuff I can use, bro. Like, it's just mind-blowing how much stuff has shifted, right? So obviously what's happened is Wizards of the Coast has taken a look at the world and the situation and gone, look, our printing facilities are crammed to capacity. We see it everywhere, right? And specifically, I'm guessing this timing, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing this timing is based on Double Masters 2022. Because we see a scenario where up until now, we've had a bit of a rough spot, right? Baldur's Gate has been more of a bit of a rough spot. Baldur's Gate has been nightmarish. So you go from Baldur's Gate into Double Masters, and the demand for Double Masters is so high that the value of boxes is being pushed up. Like you don't see Baldur's Gate come out and then everybody goes, I want to buy Baldur's Gate, and stores go, cost 20 bucks more, cost 30 bucks more, cost 40 bucks more. But that's exactly what happened with Double Masters 2022. And people are clamoring for another wave of it. They want more Double Masters 2022. So what's happening is basically, I think, Wizards is looking at this and going, yo, if we had more production facilities available, more time at the printers, then we could capitalize on these situations more. So what can we trim in our production to get to that level, right? Basically, what sells so poorly that freeing up that space to sell winners like Double Masters 2022 is a smart business move. So I imagine they went, okay, we're printing X boxes in Russian, we're printing X boxes in Korean, and X boxes in simplified Chinese. Now, if we go at, not simplified, traditional, forgive me, I get the two confused. I honestly, if it wasn't for Magic, I wouldn't be aware that there are multiple versions of Chinese, right? So they go and they look at how many boxes they're making of each of these sets and go, okay, that is basically wasted production. We're not getting enough money for these. And if you look in the markets there, people are still playing with the English cards. As far as I understand, most people are fine with English Magic cards, and the majority of Magic players genuinely desire English Magic cards, with the exception of people who obviously reside, like, yo, if you're in China and you're like, hey, I prefer Chinese Magic cards, I get it. But even over there, you are going to have a significant population of the English cards. The English cards are the top dogs now, right? There is no language that stands above them that commands a premium unless you're dealing with just specific corner cases. If you go back far enough, you go back to the time frame I was talking about, and you want cards that are Korean or stuff from back then yeah, they're a lot harder to get. But because Wizards pushed up the supply and put it out there, there is nobody clamoring for it. Now, ultimately, I don't really see this as being that big of a problem globally. Anybody who feels like they're losing out, I feel for you, bro. If you're somebody who legit was like, I want my cards in Russian, I want my cards in Korean because that's my language, that's what I play in, I feel you. It sucks that there are not enough people in your part of the world playing this game for Wizards of the Coast to consider it worth it to make localized versions. And that is unfortunate. The more Magic players, the better, right? But at the same time, I totally get it as a business decision, and it doesn't seem like the wrong decision to make based on what products you're going to be picking and pushing out to the people. So ultimately, it is definitely a loss for people in particular parts of the world, but at the same time, Wizards has obviously done the math and said there aren't enough people here for us to really put that out there. And hopefully what this means is these kind of massaging of the product line things they're doing will lead to us having less of these delays, because I feel like I'm always announcing new delays and on like products that have already had delays. Yo, that thing that had 3 months delay has another 3 months delay. We're looking at Infinity coming out in what, October? But I genuinely am curious if that's going to be the case, or if it's going to get pushed back even further, because Wizards is trying to do a million things at once. Take, for example, Secret Lair, right? We've got another Secret Lair bonus card to take a look at. I'm going to put it up on the screen. This is the two-headed sliver extended border. If you're wondering where this came from, it also came from the Shades Not Included Synthwave Secret Lair, all right? So it looks like that one is going to be the beginning of the wave of sliver secret layers. So the thing about this one is, this is a very underwhelming sliver, right? Like the fact that all they did was add an extended border out to it, it really doesn't add much at all. And it makes me wonder if Wizards has decided to basically dump every single sliver into these secret layers. Is that the plan? Like, is it just going to be Shades Not Included that has all of these different slivers? Or are the slivers going to be spread out across all the different secret layers? And are they going to start to feel like the Jumpstart Basic Lands did? I mean, they'll never fully feel like the Jumpstart Basic Lands did, because as far as I'm concerned, that's the biggest mistake that Wizards of the Coast made with secret layer bonus cards. A lot of people don't know that those Jumpstart lands are super rare or whatever, so it's basically just like getting a foil basic land, and that you can go and buy a bundle and get 20 foil basics, right? So that was the worst concept, and this one, it remains to be seen whether it's going to play out to be a smart concept or not, because we haven't seen any of the juicy slivers, and we don't know if that's because Wizards didn't put any of the juicy slivers in here, or if just through random chance, those juicy slivers haven't made their way into the general public, right? Because we only get to see a small part of what's going on with Magic, with people making their posts online and stuff like that. And a majority of it is kind of hidden down below the surface. So it's difficult to really appraise right now whether you should be focusing on the Shades Not Included secret layer to get these slivers, or whether we are entering the wave of massive slivers included in every secret layer as a possible bonus. Are they going to show up commonly or infrequently like the blueprint cards? And what is the demand for them going to be like in terms of like trade value on the secondary market? If they're only making jank bag slivers like the two-headed sliver, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like, sure, super sliver fans will care, but how many of those are specifically overlapping with secret layer, and how many other people are you disappointing? Things like those crazy Swiftfoot boots with the diagrams and everything on them are way more impressive than the slivers, but at the same time, I recognize there is a massive contingent of sliver fans in Magic the Gathering, because slivers have that awesome build a beast workshop kind of feel to it, where you can slap them together and make all kinds of insanity. And as long as your opponent isn't playing slivers, you don't have to worry about them benefiting from it. And actually, since we're speaking about slivers, did you know originally the concept behind slivers, where they were supposed to be fragments of a god? I actually did an entire video about the origin lore of slivers and what they were supposed to be before they got turned into the beasts they are. So if you're interested in that, I'll make sure to leave a link to that at the end of the video here. But yeah, slivers are a really big deal, to the point where it was one of the few premium decks that Wizards of the Coast made, right? They made an all foil sliver deck that people went nuts for. And in terms of the slivers, you have a bunch of huge slivers you can reprint. You can never do Sliver Queen, right? But you can do literally every other sliver in existence, and there are a ton. So if you start to mess around with some of those bigger slivers, I mean, they did do one sliver, they did do one of the Sliver Lords in a secret layer, so I wouldn't really expect that level to be the bonus card, but you never know. Maybe they'll make a chase alternate version of the Sliver Overlord that you can only get. There's only like 100 of them or 1,000 of them, and they're numbered and stamped, and they just haven't shown up yet. Like, Wizards is attacking the secret layer bonus slot with ferocity. They're throwing everything they can at it. I think that the Jumpstart lands was a huge miscalculation. They looked at what happened with the original Jumpstart and went, whoa, these basics are selling for 10 bucks a piece. People really want these basic lands. Let's put them in as the bonus, going, people go nuts. But they didn't realize that the majority of people don't have the key information that the Jumpstart lands are super desirable. And Wizards of the Coast makes curved foils, so not everybody wants foil versions. In fact, there are a bunch of cards now, secret layer cards specifically, where the non-foil version is worth more money than the foil version, right? So secret layers are getting to be a strange beast. and this way of just kind of wonking out different bonus cards. We had the Viscera Seer 1 of 1,000. Now we've got this let's dive into the pool with slivers going on. So it really does remain to be seen ultimately what's going to happen. But that's all I have to say, my friends. So thanks for coming by and hanging out. Links on the screen to the sliver video and also to that insane live stream from yesterday. Bear in mind, this channel is way more Mr. Rogers style vibe. If you go over there and watch that stream, it is wild, okay? Just bear in mind. Thanks for coming by. Big shout out to my patrons, and I will see you all next time.